So this is an experiment in having my iPhone attached to the windshield and driving so that I can do a vlog when I go into Seattle. So let's see how this goes. So one of my subscribers here on the channel asked me to tell the story about how I made Queen Elizabeth laugh. And so I'll tell that story. It goes like this. When I was, about 10 years ago, somewhere around when the Queen had her Silver Jubilee, I thought I'd write a letter and congratulate her. So I wrote this letter and I included in the letter, a story about when I was in the 3rd grade, about 8 years old, and we had something called show and tell at school, and you had to bring something in and tell a story about it. And I was looking around and couldn't find anything that I thought was interesting. And I saw in the neighbor's garbage can a broken old beat up gold tone chandelier, or not chandelier, but candelabra. So I grabbed that, cleaned it up, and took it to school. And when it was my turn, I stood up in front of the class and I held it up and I told the class how last summer my family and I went to England and we had dinner with the King and Queen of England. And at dinner, I admired this beautiful candelabra, and the Queen said, well, Michael, why don't you take it with you if you like it so much? So I did. I took it with me, and it was a present from the Queen. Well, my mother got a phone call that afternoon from school, and sure enough, the teacher told my mom that I had told this wild tale. So my mother sat me down and explained to me that I shouldn't be telling stories like that. But later, years later, she told me she was really proud of me because I showed such great imagination. So anyway, I included the story in the letter to the Queen. And about 3 months later, I got a letter from Buckingham Palace. I opened it up and it was a very lovely letter from one of the ladies in waiting to the Queen, and it was typed out and said, thank you for the letter, blah, blah, blah. And then at the bottom, she hand wrote that the Queen was delighted with my story about the big lie I told in the 3rd grade. So there you have the story of how I made the Queen laugh. And so, stay tuned.
Dimmi quando tu verrai, dimmi quando l'anno, il giorno, l'ora in cui forse tu mi bacerai. Ogni istante attenderò fino a quando d'improvviso ti vedrò sorridente accanto a me.
Just beautiful. I've been meaning to review this fragrance for a very long time, and it is from the house of Profumi di Firenze. And this house has been around for quite a long time in Florence, and it was begun about 50 years ago by Dottore Di Massimo. And the thing about this house is that all of the ingredients are natural. Dr. Di Massimo started studying plants for a year before he began his pharmacia. And then the fragrances came out of that. He creates beauty products and all kinds of things that are supposed to help you not only be beautiful, but healthy as well. So it's all natural products, all natural botanicals. Now, this particular one is called Tobacco. It is a gorgeous scent. And one more thing before we go any further, that one of the aspects of this house that is very interesting to me is that many of the fragrances are based on the fragrance book for the perfumer to Caterina de' Medici, who was an Italian queen who became the Queen of France. And she is credited as being the first person to promote perfume as we know it today in its modern forms. So let's get into a little bit about this fragrance, shall we? I bought this bottle about 2 years ago at Tiger Lily in San Francisco and was meaning to review it then, but things happened. Other fragrances came in the way. And I kind of forgot about it. So the main accords of this are leather and amber accords. It is for men, but of course can be worn by women as well. And it is a beauty indeed. Let's spray a little on. Now, I have to say that it opens very spicy. Speziare Palazzo Vecchio is written across the top of the bottle, and that means spices of Palazzo Vecchio. Palazzo Vecchio is the old palace, the old city hall, actually, in the center of Florence at the Piazza Signorina. And that's where the shop is located, in the Piazza Signorina in Florence. So it is very, very spicy in the opening. Now, the notes in this fragrance, the top notes in this fragrance, well, there's only one top note, and that's Artemisia, which is just an incredible, beautiful flower. And you get that right there in the opening. And then in the heart is violet, geranium, iris, and cinnamon. It has a beautiful, beautiful geranium. You can almost, it's like a red geranium in the heat, in the sun, in the Tuscan summer. It is so incredibly spicy. Geraniums are very spicy smelling. Now, the base notes are Peru balsam, labdanum, patchouli, and tobacco and ambergris. And the tobacco is a really kind of sweet tobacco, but isn't a really like cherry tobacco sweet. It's just very sweet, as though it had just been cured. And that mixes with that amber and the patchouli, and it just really is a magnificent, wonderful fragrance. Now, this particular house has something like 99 fragrances that they offer. They are so prolific. You can find them online. I'll put a link down below. And if you're in Florence, you can certainly visit their wonderful little store. Longevity on this is, I would say, medium. It doesn't go much beyond 6 hours. It stays kind of in the top notes for maybe 20 minutes and then sinks into the center and falls into a skin scent at about an hour. So it's very intimate fragrance. And the projection is, I would say, average as well. It's something that is noticed, has been noticed when I wear it, but not until you get up maybe within about 18 to 20 inches. So there you have those two aspects of this fragrance. So from the age of Catherine de' Medici, the Renaissance, all the way to the present, is represented by this house. It is really something that I think we should pay a little more attention to. I only found one review on this particular house, and that was by Redolessence. I'll put a link down below for that too, so you can check that out. But definitely, this is something worth investigating. So this is Lionel Smith from Sense Memory saying, remember, wear what you love and not what they say you should like. Cheers.